Hello and welcome back to What's Millie Making, where I am Millie and this is the space where I talk about the past, present, future of my making, mostly knitting. Today's video will actually include some sewing as we're looking into the future, as I am sharing my autumn inspo mood board, knitting slash sewing slash things I maybe want to buy clothing wise edition. With the changing of the seasons, it is a perfect time to make a new mood board, and that's what I did yesterday, so let's rewind to back then. So this summer I made a making inspo board, not of actual like sewing or knitting patterns that I wanted to make, but ready to wear pieces from brands and stores that I enjoy, and then with the hopes of creating either knitting or sewing pieces that were similar to those or were inspired by those or had like the same vibe. It was a lot of fun to make, even if I didn't really get much sewing in this summer. Kind of like overestimated how quickly I would learn. Here is that summer inspo board, and I actually still like a lot of these pieces, so I'm going to be putting them onto my autumn inspo board too. And I just have like a bunch of tabs open from like stores that I like and some of the brands that I got inspo from for my summer making inspo board. That is not a catchy name. So I'll say this is my, what should we call it? Autumnal making mood board. I don't know if that's any better. Okay. Scrunchie like this one. I feel like it was kind of more popular last winter. A lot of the influencers were wearing this scrunchie, but I still like it, even if I don't see people wearing it anymore. And I did make one of these bestie bags, but I would love to make another one, and I kind of want to make one, okay, that's irrelevant. I want to make one that is quilted, but like I have quilted it. See, this is totally something I could knit, but I know I would not look as cool as that girl. I love the return of the huge collars, and I still have some in my closet from when they were popular the last time around. I love quilted quotes. I love quilted coats. I actually have 3 of them, and every time I wear them, people are like, or if I wear them to the yarn store specifically, people are like, did you make that? Sadly, I'm always saying no. Love it, love it, love it. Okay, so after all that yapping, here is my final mood board. There's a lot going on, but I absolutely love the vibes. And now that I have the mood board, I'm going to spend the weekend looking for patterns that fit these like categories that I guess I have reduced my mood board into for easier. Doesn't really make sense to say I've reduced them into categories to make the categorization easier. I've reduced them into categories to make it easier on myself to find corresponding knitting and sewing patterns. Now for knitting patterns, Ravelry is the place to be. I know where to look for patterns, but as I am a lot newer to sewing, I don't necessarily know where to find patterns. I know there's a lot on Etsy, but there's also a lot of scammers on Etsy. So if you have like specific pattern makers that you recommend, feel free to share. I will be very appreciative of that. I've already like found some people whose patterns I enjoy, and looking at the mood board, I kind of already know like what pattern I could use to recreate something like that. But my knowledge is minimal, and I'm always interested in hearing more. Okay, so after staring at this screen for so long, here are, I guess, like the wider categories of types of projects that I am interested in for the fall. First up, cables. I'm always here for a good cabled sweater, and it's actually been a while since I've knit a cabled sweater. And looking at this mood board, I realized I'm really into cream cables. So I definitely want to make a cream colored cabled sweater. And if you saw my spring knitting plans, you may already know what pattern and yarn combination I have in mind. It actually might also be part of my make 9. But I'm determined to get that done this season. Kind of in the same vein as cream colored cables is I'm really into crew neck cardigans. I just feel like crew neck cardigans are totally having their moment, and I am totally here for it. I talked about in my Rhinebeck planning video, how there's this one Instagram account, brand I guess, oh my god, Nikki, who makes really beautiful crew neck cardigans, and I've just been seeing that silhouette everywhere, and there are some on my mood board. And kind of to go along with the cables, I've been seeing a lot at the mall, actually, not of all places, because that is where you see a lot of clothing, right? I've been seeing a lot of stores in the mall, specifically Aritzia and Club Monaco. They come out with cabled cardigans with a crew neck, and then they have a corresponding top underneath. And I think on this mood board I also added one from Doen that has that look. And after my first summer of knitting, I just haven't really been interested in knitting tank tops, but maybe if I knit like a DK weight tank top to correspond with a DK weight cardigan, I might be into that. I think a large part of the reason I haven't been into the summer knits is because I hate cotton, and I don't really want to knit a fingering weight garment that I'm not going to get a ton of wear out, which I kind of assumed would be the case with a wool tank top. But I could wear it in the colder months. Another thing I really want to knit, Fair Isle colorwork. I've really been on a colorwork kick lately, but I've been knitting, I guess, like more modern patterns, but I'd really like to knit some more traditional Fair Isle motifs as well, especially because I've been seeing a lot of it and I am easily influenced. What can I say? And I have quite a few Fair Isle patterns on my mood board, and at the end of this video I will talk about casting on my first one. Another thing I want to knit, colorful socks. I kind of feel like this is an extension of the colorful tights trend, which I also enjoyed last winter. And a lot of my hand knit socks, I love like the look of brightly variegated wacky yarn, and socks are really the only place that I wear those kind of colors, but they are perhaps maybe not the most wearable socks in terms of like if I want to quote unquote style an outfit. I mean, I guess they could work if I'm wearing a more neutral outfit, but a lot of the times my outfits are not more neutral, so I would like more solid colored colorful socks instead of variegated colorful socks. Okay, and then kind of like moving into sewing, I guess, because this next category I want to sew and knit, and it is scrunchies slash hair accessories in general. I am pretty lazy when it comes to my hair, and I don't really have a lot of hair accessories, but I do wear my scrunchies a lot, but they're not like cool scrunchies. They're like very basic functional scrunchies, and I love the look of the scrunchies that have like the lace on the outside, or the ones that have like the ribbons attached. And I've seen both knit and sewn versions, and I just want to make both. And I also really want to make some big hair bows. I have done those like little I-cord bows before, but I want like big bad bow. Okay, so I guess we're really transitioning into the clothing section. I mean, it's all clothes. We're really transitioning into the sewing section now. So the next thing I really want to learn how to sew is pleated skirts. I have always had a long time love with pleated skirts. Wait, actually I'm going to amend this category to be pleated skirts and plaid skirts. They can cross over, they cannot, because I enjoy them both. And these are both styles that, again, I've just always loved. Maybe there was a break in the pleated skirt love, maybe like in high school, but by the time I was in college, I was back on the pleated skirt trend. Or not even trend, just even when it was not trendy, I've always loved a good pleated skirt, I've always loved a good plaid skirt, and I've always loved a good pleated plaid skirt. And there are a lot on my mood board, so I would really like to make it happen, because whenever I look for them, it's really hard to find ones that fit. It's like they'll fit me at the waist, and then they're too big everywhere else, and I'm also short, so a lot of times they just end up being too long or hitting me at an awkward spot. But now that I can sew, I can make my own. Also, I don't think I'm gonna make it this project this winter because I really want to improve my skills before I make it, but in my previous video I talked about how I went to Loch Erin in Scotland, and I was peer pressured by my mom to buy some fabric there, and it is this beautiful like plaid fabric. And actually the specific colorway, the lady at the store who was cutting the fabric for me, she was really nice and knowledgeable. She said it was a favorite of Vivienne Westwood because they would source their materials from this weaving company, so I just thought that was really cool. So I don't think I'm confident enough in my skills, and I don't see myself becoming confident enough in my skills in the next 3 months to make a project with this fabric, but I would like to build my skills up to that point. Another skirt kind of thing that I like to make are the long tiered skirts, and I have a few in my closet, and it's also kind of like another piece that is kind of like a staple in my closet that I always have a long white flowy skirt in my closet. It is what it is, either a skirt or a dress, but I would like to make myself my own so that I can add like those specific details that I really like. And I just feel like the white to long flowy skirts were really big this summer, and I don't really see it going anywhere for fall. And even if they weren't really big, like I said, I genuinely like them, so I will continue to wear them and hopefully sew them. I guess onto that same category of like bottoms, I really want some chocolate brown bottoms. I feel like chocolate brown has just become like my favorite neutral color over the last year, but it's really hard to find pieces that I like that fit me. Yeah, and I just have had zero luck. So I really want to sew some chocolate brown pants and some chocolate brown skirts, like a chocolate brown pleated mini skirt. That's the dream. Another sewing category are quilted outerwear, and I'm just realizing like a lot of things on this mood board are just things that I already have in my closet and I already enjoy, but I just like to make my own versions of them. So I love quilted coats. There's this one brand, C, and they come out with them like every winter, and I have bought 3 over the past few years because I really love their designs, and I just want to make my own. And I really like to make some shorter ones, and there's this one specific coat. So it keeps saying, I want to say quote. There's this one specific coat on the mood board that has like this piping and then bows on the bottom, and I think that's just adorable, and I'd really love to make something like that. I feel like the bow trend is kind of overdone, but I don't care because I genuinely love bows. And I feel like if you just look at clothing through like even like that last 100 years or even hundreds of years, people have always loved bows. Bows are just freaking cute. And I guess my last category of things I would like to sew are some looser fitting A-line dresses. I guess that's just a silhouette I really like. And I do have a lot that have kind of like a ruched top and then flare out. So maybe I could make some without that detail so they differ from the ones that I already have in my closet. As always, my knitting plans are very low stakes. I don't give myself the expectations of following through on them, especially because like I am always easily distracted by what's new. But I think they're just nice to have there, that it's kind of like in the back of my mind. If I want to make something, I don't have to spend hours searching on Ravelry and looking at yarn, but I still do. But it's also nice to just have these plans in the back of my mind. And I do think when I have these plans, even if I don't follow through on them, it kind of helps me stop impulse shopping for new projects that I don't end up casting on, and then that yarn just gets added to stash. And I guess the same thing goes for the sewing projects. As you can see, there are a lot of sewing things on this mood board, and I just don't think, I know I will not get to all of them because I am not a very fast or experienced sewist, but it's good to have that inspiration. And I already know the first project that I'm going to tackle on this mood board, and it is a Fair Isle sweater. So if you saw last week's video, I talked about different vintage sweater patterns that I could possibly knit for Rhinebeck, and I asked for input on which one I should pick. And the #1 pattern was definitely the Maple by Wallin, and I asked the same question on Instagram, and I couldn't even finish getting through all the responses because there were so many of them. But again, #1 by far was a Maple cardigan by Wallin. So what I did is I did end up going on Stitch Fiddle, which is a free website where you can make your own charts, and I recharted the chart from that pattern because these vintage knitting pattern charts are just so difficult to see. I don't understand how people did it. Anywho, recharted it, and I realized I just don't think I have the bandwidth for that complex color work right now. So I'm going to stick to actually what my original plan in that video was, which was to follow the pattern from a different Wallin pattern, which is the Orkney pattern, and that one is knit with more traditional Fair Isle motifs. So there's no intarsia, there's no like 3 colors on one row. It is really easy and simple color work. So I'm going to do that for the body, and then for the sleeves and possibly the ribbing, I'm going to follow the striping pattern from the Maple cardigan by Wallin. And this combination of patterns is inspired by a sweater by Molly Goddard, which I also shared in that video. And I talked about how I might want to follow the color scheme, but there's just so many colors in the Orkney pattern that I couldn't translate this Molly Goddard color scheme onto the Orkney pattern. So instead I found a different Molly Goddard sweater that has more of a pink color scheme, which is very me, and I recreated the chart in Stitch Fiddle with colors inspired by this pink Molly Goddard sweater. So basically the silhouette of the sweater, and I guess like the design of the sweater, is inspired by one Molly Goddard sweater, and the color palette is inspired by another Molly Goddard sweater, and the pattern that I'm following is two different Marie Wallin patterns. That's the deal. And actually I pulled a lot of the yarns from stash that I think I could use, put them in a Ziploc bag, but then I was missing two colors. So I needed a pink and a red, and I was browsing Wallin Company, which is my favorite place to buy yarn online, but also just my favorite place to window shop for yarn online, because I think they take really good photos of the yarn. They have pretty consistent lighting, unlike my lighting situation. Let's not talk about that. So I found two different DK weight bases that I think I could use, which were either Cascade Blueface Leicester or Juniper Moon Patagonia Merino. The name is something like that. That one's technically a sport weight. And luckily I could find both of these yarns locally, because even though Wallin Company does have free shipping, it does take some time, and I want to cast this on this weekend. So the Cascade is at Knitty City and the Juniper Moon Farm is at Annie & Company. So the decision was, which one do I go to? Which yarn do I pick? If you have a guess, please feel free to share. But spoilers, I went yesterday and I got the yarn. And I ended up going to Annie & Company and getting the Juniper Moon Farm Patagonia Organic Merino. This is the color Bubblegum, and this is the color Cardinal. I will try to put clips or pictures where the color is clearer. Wow! I actually have quite a few yarns to wind before I can start swatching or start this sweater project, so that's what I'm going to do now. And I am thinking that I'm going to try to modify the sweater pattern to be top down, because I really loathe the whole bottom up aspect of things. Actually, hold on one second. This is a chart. This is why I don't like these vintage knitting charts, because the pattern repeats are so short, but the chart is so big and you can't see anything. But I guess one good thing about the charts is it's very, very clear to see the stitch counts for specific sections. So I'm hoping that it will not be too difficult to modify it to be a top-down sweater pattern. But I guess that will be a video for another day. That about wraps up this video, I think. Maybe I'll share some clips of me winding up the yarn. Okay, thank you so much for watching, and hope to see you again next time. And as always, please feel free to share what's on your needles or what you are working on while you watch this video, because I'm nosy and I love that information. Also, if you enjoyed this video, please feel free to give it a like and a follow. I think my next video will be a knitting podcast, and then after that I will share a more concrete fall plans knitting and sewing edition, where I'll talk about or maybe like briefly show the mood board, and then I'll talk about the specific patterns that I've picked to kind of coordinate with the mood board. That sounds like a plan to me. Okay, I'll stop yapping. Ta-ta for now. Hope to see you again next time. Bye.